Today is July 29th, and we've been working on putting the floor down here on this addition for the house. I've been working on it a little at a time because I've been working in the daytime flying. But I got 4 inches of styrofoam insulation put down, and then I've been putting down the plywood. And then I started working on this last section, which takes a little bit longer because I have to do all of the rough-in stuff underneath it before I can finish putting the plywood down. So I run electrical cable. I got a 10-3 cable running from inside the basement through that bay over there and over, and it'll come up over here for the supply for the dryer. And then I've got a 12-2 cable running from inside the basement, run through the floor, come up, and that'll be a dedicated supply for the washing machine. And then I've got a 6-2 cable running through there, and that runs out through that 6x12 outside, and that's for a potential hookup for a spa, a hot tub, in case we get a hot tub or spa here sometime. And then we've got 3/4 inch PEX pipe, and that will supply water to the vanity sink, toilet supply, and then the supply for the washing machine and for a utility sink over here. Then I've got 4-inch drain line. I've got 4 feet coming out off this wall. There'll be a wall right here, and this will be a pantry. So there'll be a wall here separating the pantry from the rest of this. And through this wall right here, I've got a 4-inch to 2-inch T that'll be the vent line for the sewer pipe. Then we got a T off of that going over to the drain for the lavatory sink. And I got another T there, and I wanted to get Ys for these, but they didn't have any Ys here in town, no 4x2 Ys. I went with Ts, and that's not code, but that's the way it's going to be. So I've got that teed off there with a 2-inch drain line going over that'll go up for the washing machine and for the utility sink over there. And then I've got a sweep elbow coming up for the toilet. I spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out how I was going to lay all this out. Originally had it pictured in my mind that I could put the toilet in. It was going to be in right here, and then have a shower in, and then have a lavatory sink in here. I laid the plywood down, and I could see that it was going to be too tight in here to have a shower stall in here. I had this laid out for a 60-inch wall, which would have been just right for dropping in a shower. Well, like I said, I didn't have enough room for that, so I shortened this up to a 48-inch wall, which makes it a tight little space in here for a nice tight little bathroom. This will be the downstairs bathroom, and it'll just be a lavatory sink and a toilet in here. The dryer will be flush against this wall, washing machine next to it, and then a utility sink next to it. So all that's all set up, and then I'll make a 2x4 stub wall behind the washer and dryer and utility sink to run the utilities in. So that's where we're at now. I've got 2 sheets of plywood down here. I've got the drain roughed in. I've got my supply lines run over there. My electrical lines run over there. I need to cut the cold water supply line and put a T in there for the supply for the toilet. Once that's done, then I can set up my plywood to lay down on here. I'll have to cut out an opening for the toilet because that sweep is going to stick up proud of the floor there. I was hoping it'd be down below or down at the floor level, but it's going to stick up above it. So I'm going to have to cut a hole for that penetration. And then I have to cut holes in it to where the electrical and where the PEX tubes are going to come out. So that's the agenda for now, is get that stuff done. So once I get this floor down, I have to cut some plywood to finish out flooring out over the top of that 6x12, because this is exactly 12 feet from this wall here to the inside of that 6x12. So I'm going to have to scab in some pieces along there to finish filling that in, but I have to take that wall up first. So I'll have to take the roof off and take that wall down, put that stuff on. Between times, I can go ahead and start laying out my sill plates for this wall here and that wall over there. We're supposed to have rain now for the next few days. I don't know how long that's going to be. Once it starts here, it might never quit again, but I want decent weather before I start pulling this roof off of here. So let's get started at this. Did I bring my cutters? I did bring my PEX cutters, and I need my T. Well, after doing those 2 hookups over there, figured the best way to do that. Actually, I've done 3 hookups over there. I've got the 2 supply lines for the lavatory sink, and then I've also got a outdoor faucet, a Silcock faucet there. And I can, if I leave enough of this PEX pipe on here, instead of trying to run it short, come up and leave it long here, and it gives me more room to bend it to come up through the floor. And that's what I'll do there, like that. All right, that's that. That's going to come up through the floor like that. Yeah, I think so.
I'm glad I came out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. I couldn't have done without you.
Oh, I'm sure you could have. It just would have been more personal.
All right, time for lunch break. All right, it's time to put this last sheet of plywood down. I've got holes drilled out for this drain here and the main drain for the toilet. We've got the PEX pipes and the electrical lines running up through Chase's holes for those. So let's get some Gookapucky down here on this. Let's see if it can't get it on there. I gotta go that way. Just let it down. Okay. PEX, hold on now. I just got to get these PEX pipes to come through here.
That's just
Yeah. All right. There it went. It ain't gonna go through there, is it?
Yeah. I think it will if we have straight up and down.
No, not gonna do it. Not quite gonna do it. So yeah, pull those PEX pipes back. There we go. Goddamn PEX pipes. All right. There it went. Shoot. All right, so
Hammer it on with this big hammer to push it over. Put my foot on there.
I guess so. Stand on it right there. Just a second. Let me get it over where it belongs. All right.
You've done it well.
Well, it's got to go back that way so that I can get the tongues lined up. Don't hit it with that. All right, now, how's it doing there? The gap is pretty good there. Okay, so a little bit. Is that closing up any?
Yeah, it closed up a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, down that one.
Go to a couple directions.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
That's tight.
Okay.
You want to push it back this direction
A little bit. Yeah. Need to go turn the air compressor on. I thought I heard some dingling. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. No, it won't come up. You got to go turn the air compressor on first.
Oh. Okay.
Well, that is on there. That went not too bad. That hole saw, what is that hole saw? 5 inches was more than enough for running pipe up through, but it's almost exactly the size of the ring, the socket on that pipe there, so it wouldn't fit down in there at an angle. Took the Sawzall and hogged that hole out a little bit, enough to get that down over there. So it's still a pretty tight hole there. That's pretty good. I'm happy with that. That's not bad at all. And then of course the PEX pipes fought trying to get that down. But this drain pipe is just about almost perfect. That was I think a three something hole on that. And that came out just about perfect. So all right, that's nailed down. I'll get my hammer and seat those nails, seat that plywood. Although with all of the sliding back and forth we did on it and everything, it should be seated pretty good. So now that looks pretty clean like that. A lot cleaner than it did with it open, with all the pipes and wires and stuff like that coming through there. Now they're all covered up. All that stuff will be protected from freezing, especially if we put the in-floor hot water heat in here. That'll warm the floor up, and that heat will go down through the floor and help keep those pipes from freezing and stuff. So like I said, the next thing to do to finish the floor would be to take this wall down and put that plywood the rest of the way out, strips of plywood the rest of the way out of there. You can see that edge right there, that sidewall where that comes out, that's got a 2x6 into the end of the SIP panel. And then, I don't know whether you can see it or not, let's see. There are holes run in that run into the chases for the wiring chases. There's one there at 4 feet and one down there at 2 feet. And then there are wiring chases that go on the vertical up and down in those SIP panels too. But I have to put a 2x6 on that end, glued, screwed, nailed into that one, and then that SIP panel will slide onto that. And the same thing on the bottom, and then the top, there'll be another 2x6 that's sandwiched in to the SIP panel. Anyway, I can do that on that end wall, and I can lay the extra rim joist down on this other end wall down here. That one's just going to be framed in. So I only have 3 SIP panels, and they are 12 feet long and 8 feet tall. So I'll put one down there on that end. That's the north side of the house. And then I'll put the other 2 on this long side, the 24-foot side. And then I'll frame in a 2x6 wall on that end right there. Okay, well, I think I'm pretty much done then. I can put all my tools away here now. And the next step will be getting ready to put those sill plates down, those doubler sills down. And I think what I'm going to do, I've got double rim joists, and then we've got 3/4 inch plywood on top of that. I'm going to put a 2x6.5 down on there. I've got a air nailer that will nail 20 penny nails. Now before, when I did it on the house, I nailed it all in by hand. But I've got that nailer now that'll handle 20 penny nails or bigger. So I think I'm going to dig that out, put those plates down with. And of course, they'll be glued down too. There'll be structural adhesive down underneath them. But I think I'll put those down with that 20 penny nail so that it penetrates all the way through those 2x6 3/4 and the 3/4 inch plywood down into the rim joist.